Hello everybody and welcome back to Minecraft in our survival single-player world. I am Malign Mysticality, and what we're doing today is we're gonna pick right back up where we left off working on the village in the last one. Last episode we got our villagers moved into their new homes, we got the roofs on them, and we continued the village path all the way through to the staircase up to the tunnel and to the end of the village there. What we're going to do today is we are going to pick up on terraforming our cliffs. We need to get the smooth stone all through this section, and we need to do the entire upper section. We're not going to do the front cliff yet. That's going to require a bit of digging. But, speaking of things that require a bit of digging, I have some updates from the Big Dig site. So, I'm going to go ahead and fly over there, and I will meet you over there after I play a little clip of the progress we've made. Alright, guys. We are out at the dig site. We've got a much deeper hole here now than we did before. We're making our way down. We're still not even to sea level. We've got to get all the way to bedrock, so we're definitely far from done, but we're heading in the right direction. I've got a bit of a totem pole going for every pillager patrol that I've killed while I've been digging. And I ended up filling up all of these chests, so we condensed into shulkers. And there's a lot of stuff in here. I've tried to keep it organized by what's in each one for the most part. And we need stone. So we're going to bring a couple of these of stone, probably one of the cobblestone with us as well, back to the village. As for the dig itself, I'll continue on it between episodes, but yeah, it's taken a long time. Every basically too high layer, I end up having to take both of my picks back to the end for repairs, so it's going to take quite a while, but we will get it done eventually. I'll keep grinding on it between episodes, and hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll get to start building the actual project there. In the meantime, however, we're going to shift focus back to what we're currently trying to get done. I missed. It happens sometimes. So anyways, I'm going to get my materials laid out. I'm going to get working on this. And once I have all of the stone through the bottom layer, we'll start taking a look at the upper layer. So I'll see you again in just a minute. Alright, guys. Well, I went ahead and got the smooth stone kind of knocked in semi-randomly along this lower face, so you can see there's a little bit there. It's just kind of occasionally in, blended with the andesite, kind of mixed in with the tuff there. Doesn't make a huge difference visually from a distance, but up close it's just a little more detail. So that was kind of the goal with that. And we've got all of our materials together so that we can start working on this back cliff face and try and do the same thing. So, cobblestone doesn't really feature in these cliffs. I actually don't know why I brought some cobblestone over. Anyways. We've got stone, we've got andesite, we've got some cobbled deep slate. I've set up a crafting table and a stone cutter so that we can get the stairs and slabs and walls without having to lose materials, because, let's be honest here, stairs are a bit of a ripoff. And then, yeah, we're going to start marking it out. The entire cliff pretty much moves one out ahead of the tuff in most places. But on the back tuff level, we'll mix in a little bit of the andesite and smooth stone. And then we'll punch some holes in after we're done with the main facing and get a little bit of our deep slate in. So, this is primarily going to be an andesite job. I probably don't actually have enough andesite. I might take a second and go collect some more before we get started. Yeah, we're not going to have enough to do this entire thing. I'm going to go grab some more andesite from a couple other spots underground, and I will be right back. Well, guys, I didn't expect one andesite vein to nearly fill a shulker box. But I did find a big one. Goes up to there, cuts through all the way into this area, and then I had to dig out a little staircase because it continued up here. But with all of that andesite collected, plus what we already had up top, I think we're pretty much... I didn't happen to already have some in this chest, did I? I didn't even look in here. No, I did not. I already took all the andesite out of it. Okay. Anyways, with that, I should be ready to get started on the cliff face, so I will meet you guys back up there. Alright, guys, we are back from getting that little cliff-facing time-lapse done. I had initially recorded a clip of kind of building the first little section with you guys. Unfortunately, the audio completely failed on me, and so the choice was either re-record a voiceover or just leave it out. I figured I'd leave it out. It's just a case of going in and, you know, kind of randomly slapping in blocks until you get these cliff faces done. But I did want to take a step back over here where you can get, you know, the kind of a really nice view of what that does. And you can see it kind of back there between here and between there with the lower and upper cliffs in. And it does so much for the space. Just that little bit of detail really cleans up a lot of this area. So, really excited to have that done. The next thing to do, other than go to sleep real quick, is going to be marking in a few of the other builds that we want to get into the village. So, first off, what are those builds? So, we have a little animal pen. It's not great. What we want to do is we want to move our animals into a barn. And I don't want the barn here because it'll be right next to these houses and it's a whole noise pollution thing. That's why you usually don't see barns with animals in the middle of a town, right? So it's going to be more of an outskirts build. I haven't decided the exact location for it yet, but I feel like either up on this hill back here we can flatten a spot, or we can build it in this little area back behind the greenhouse. Not entirely sure. I think back here would be the best place for it. Expand the lighting area a little bit and get our barn in over here. And we can use some of our eggs, get some chickens back in the space, get all of our animals into a nice barn instead of in a pen open to the weather, you know. Maybe include a little fenced-in pasture area so they can be let out and brought back in. And then the other thing that I really want to get into the village is a happy gas hanger for our buddy over there, because he's right next to the house right now, and he makes a lot of noise. So again, we have an escapee, which I guess is the problem with having trapdoors on the inside here. At some point, I may actually have to repopulate this place, but we'll get there when we get there. What flowers were we missing? That's right, we're missing the two that we need a sniffer for, so the torch flower and the pitcher pod. We'll have to get a sniffer at some point so we can get the last two flowers into the greenhouse, but that said, we've got to do the cliff face all along the front. I've got to get a lot more tuff before we can do that. So that'll be something that I need to dig for. I would say we'll get it from the big dig site, but we are nowhere near tuff level on that. If we put our barn back in here, clear a little bit of space, a good spot for a happy ghast hanger. I mean, we could make room for it here. It doesn't have to be huge, it's just for the one happy ghast. So we could have it right in here, or we could have it behind the greenhouse and then have you connect onto the path that way. I feel like we're going to have the path here continue back around to the barn and this path split up the hill to the barn. So I've got to do some leveling and some prep over there for the barn. I'm not entirely sure what that build's going to look like. I think we're going to use crimson wood from the nether for that one. As for, I don't know why I put string up here. I know that it doesn't stop mob spawns, and yet, for some reason, I put it up here anyways. There's so many things that change about this game, it's so hard to know anything at any point. But that's a little bit silly. Anyway. So I'll figure out exactly where I want to put the happy ghast hanger. I think that's going to be the next thing we work on. But I do want to start getting some space worked out. I think that if I trim this entire cliff down a little bit and bring the hill in, I can flatten a slightly larger area there, maybe expand out a slight flat platform. And then that'll just get the animals away from the main village space to where it's a little quieter over here. I do like the idea of the Happy Ghast hangar here, actually. Get rid of the Netherwort farm, because that needs to go anyways, and put it into this space. Then it's next to the house. It's right kind of in the middle of town. Almost as like a hot air balloon station, right? You have a little station, you have a person working there, and kind of manning flights, especially since when you put a boat under these guys, they kind of look like a hot air balloon anyways. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to mark out the space here for our Happy Ghast hangar, and then at some point, probably within the next episode or two, we'll get that marked out so we can move our animals, get a little more peace and quiet. I've still got to expand the road to split off from here and head back to the blacksmith house. And then we also want to bring the path from there along to intersect with that path, just so that you can get anywhere from anywhere along a proper path instead of walking through the middle of the field. I need to level this area a little bit as well, because there's just a bunch of holes. And then there might be room for maybe one or two smaller builds right in here, but I'm not entirely sure what those are going to be. Why are you here? So, anyways, I'm going to start working on getting our Ghast hangar marked out, and then I will bring you guys back in when it's time to get that thing all thrown together. Oh man, my pockets are full. I'll figure some stuff out and bring you guys back in a minute. Alright, guys. So I've kind of picked the spot here. Our Happy Ghast is about 4x4 in width, length. So I figured if we do a 9x9, he'll have plenty of room in here and not be super cramped. So that's what we're going to go for. Gives him 7x7 worth of space inside of that. And we're going to use our spruce and cobblestone for this. And I'll pick out a floor block here in a minute. But this should be a pretty quick build, I think. Just so that we're able to kind of open these to go out and close them to keep them in. Hopefully that works out. We'll find out. And we're going to want to make this probably one block taller than he is for the actual entry height. So, I believe that's also 4, so 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll take this across. Okay. And yeah, the goal here is just to have a nice space to store him. We don't want him to be stuck somewhere cramped and miserable, and we don't want him to be right next to our house, making so much noise we can't stand it. So, reasonable trade-offs. Perfect. So he's got a little 7x7. Let's just make sure he fits. We'll, I think what we're gonna do is... I think I've already got some fences crafted. Hold on. That's a couple. That'll get us started at least. If I... do that... there... and... craft 2 more real quick. We really need an equivalent to the stone cutter for wood, which would make a lot of sense, having, you know, like a wood mill of some kind. Anyways, I feel like if we do that, let's see. Come here, buddy. Need to borrow you. Come on. Actually, might need to, grab that real quick. bring you down in through the top. Oop. Okay, you might still be able to get out through. Oop. The front of this. But if I lead you to... A little bit weird. Normally, if you do something like that to interact, it doesn't allow you to also place a block. That one's a little odd. Yeah, you'll be fine right there. Okay. What do I want to do for... Ooh, you know what? Let's do this. Oh, he can fly between those. That was part of what I wanted to know. We'll get him back in just a moment. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And I can punch in some windows later if I want to, but at the very least, to get started, just having this completely enclosed is good enough for me. Perfect. Might need some more oak. Yeah, we're gonna need more oak. Do I have more in this, or do I need to go find more? Nope, I do. Perfect. Just take the smaller stack. Beauty. Alright. Come on, buddy. Back here. Here we go. Oop. Fly down. And then I'm gonna need more spruce too, but at least get started with that. And hopefully keep him inside. We'll find out. And I'm gonna mess this up, I know it. We're gonna try our best. Ah, dang it. Alright, fine. Okay. Cut around this side. And now, hypothetically, he shouldn't be able to get out. Without us flying him out, which we might take a little damage doing, but there are many, many worse things. Okay. And then we're gonna need some cobblestone stairs and slabs. And I'm gonna do oak for the roof. Oak, stairs, and slabs as well. Perfect. Okay. That's probably nowhere near enough, but we will cross that bridge when we get to it. So used to having rockets in my offhand. Have I become spoiled? There we go. Alright. Just gonna pop that there. And switch to our Cobblestone for framing. I don't want that in my offhand anymore. Let's go back to that. Perfect. There. 2, 3, 4, and then we'll do slabs from here, I think. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And then we just got to do that on the other two sides, or the other side and the other corner. I know what I'm doing. Usually. Never. Definitely not right now. But I have built a couple roofs in this style at least, so I'm not completely blind. 2 and 3. And then we're going to go sleep for a second after I run this top beam, and then we're going to make sure this looks roundabout right. I may actually go down to slabs one sooner, but we'll decide that in a minute. I also still need to finish the house interior. That is probably going to be one of the last things I do before we're done with the village. The bedroom up here, there's still some decoration and things I'd like to add, but the primary function of the bedroom is just to have our reset in case we die. What am I doing? Go up the floor, go off the roof. That's what roof access is for. Alright, see how this looks. Yeah, I think that's good. Ah, I messed that one up. And I'm out of rockets. Oh no, whatever will I do? Ugh. Ooh, crisis averted. It's not like I've got just stacks and stacks of them and shulker boxes in my ender chest. There we go. Okay. And we're just gonna do that so we can do that. There we go. So yeah, this is pretty much my workflow when I'm doing all of these, and even with like the different walls and things, they're all within such a similar style that it doesn't take long to get a new building tossed up. That's, you know, part of the point of this whole place is that it's supposed to be stylistically consistent and in a style that I didn't really build in before we started this specific project. So, doing something a little different than I normally would, and I like it. I think so far the entire village has come together really well. And I'm excited to move on to new styles, new builds, new ideas in, you know, the coming days. But we've got to wrap up the village, really get it cleaned up. I don't want to leave this half done and start working on something else. That just does not feel like it would be satisfying for anyone involved. So, we're not going to do it. The other thing is making sure that the scope and scale of each new building within the village somewhat matches the design of everything else. The roofs vary a little bit because, you know, they're different widths, different styles, but I try to keep them at least within a relatively similar profile. Because otherwise, what would be the point? I know, buddy, I know. I don't think we're going to do dormers off of this one. I think we're just going to let it be as it is. Because dormers off, like, the blacksmith house makes sense. Hypothetically, that would be a second floor or even possibly a third floor with windows coming out. But here, it's just the hangar, so Doesn't quite make sense. Perfect. And then before I finish this off, we're gonna need a little bit more of that. Why did I do it that way? What am I doing? Give me my rockets back. Now that we've got the roof filled in, this should be a lot easier to land on as well. Perfect. Okay. Now I can do this. Beautiful. And then we'll do the same off here. Oop. Try that again. Fantastic. Alright. Now let's just knock the rest of this out real quick. And apparently add some extra flare to the roof for no reason. So now, if we take a step back over here... Beauty. And then how far away can we hear him from? Because if we can still hear him from the house, this was a wasted endeavor. I mean, not entirely wasted, I suppose. Yeah, we can still hear him. I might get the data pack that just decreases gas noises, or... I know there's mods you can get that lower specific types of noises in specific areas. This spot does make the most sense, I think, for a ghast hangar. It's the right spot in the middle of town for it, you know? The only other thing is I don't want mobs spawning in here. So let's get lanterns. Off a couple spots on the roof here. Or, you know what? I think this over here make more sense. I don't want to do one off the front for the reason of I'm going to have to actually put my face there, but... Let's knock that one down. Alright. Fantastic. Well, normally I don't bring you guys along through the build process. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think. But it definitely fits in with the village. I think the next thing to do is I'm going to take a couple more of these slabs as our curb pieces and just kind of knock in a step up here and a path up to the front of this. But with that, I think I am just about out of time for the episode. So let's take a step back and... Oh yeah, that fills in another little bit of space that I think definitely needed it. So, anyways guys, thanks so much for coming along on the adventure. If you guys are enjoying the videos, there's a playlist on the channel for all the Minecraft stuff. You can subscribe, ring the notification bell to see every time I put out a new video, and with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!